first, we start with John Lennon. Number 10, It's For You, Silla Black.
I'm thinking of if it's true. It's for you.
Whether you know her from her singing career or from hosting Blind Date, there's no denying Silla had an amazing career. She did it all, even getting a chance to work with two Beatles, Paul McCartney and John Lennon.
I give my heart and no one knows that I do. It's for you.
And although Love of the Loved is credited as Lennon-McCartney, it was only in this track, It's For You, that Lennon worked his writing chops. McCartney had turned up to Abbey Road Studios when Silla was recording her track, Anyone Who Had a Heart, and insisted he and Lennon wrote something for her, using her breakout hit as inspiration.
Who wants the fight? Come on, I quite agree. Nobody's loved me. When I look at you.
Number 9, Fame, David Bowie. This may be a little obvious to some of you, but we needed to include this for our younger viewers. Indeed, John Lennon lent his writing talents to David Bowie, who he considered a great friend, for this track in 1975. Their collaboration in this song was to highlight their distaste for all the burdens that fame and fortune bring. And what a result it was, as many rank this as their all-time favourite Bowie track. Lennon also provided guitar and backing vocals. It's honestly just a shame these two late musical icons never got a chance to collaborate again. Number 8, Bad to Me, Billy J. Kramer and the Dakotas.
The birds in the sky would be sad and lonely if they knew that I'd lost my one and only.
Billy J. Kramer and the Dakotas owe a lot of their success to the Beatles alumni. After all, they are responsible for not one, but at least 5 different songs released by the group. Most notably perhaps is this song, Bad to Me, which managed to hit number 1 in the UK charts back in 1963.
Don't be bad to me.
Allegedly, John wrote the song for Billy when he was on vacation in Spain. He would later amend this statement, saying that he and Paul wrote it in a van, but this seems to be the norm with a lot of John's songwriting.
You're not bad to me.
Number 7, I'm in Love, The Fourmost. In 2013, a demo by the Beatles for this song was released, but for years prior, it was known as one of the Fourmost's hits.
You're my kind of girl. You make me feel proud. You make me want to shout all around.
All signs point to Lennon being the lead writer for the track, as he stated in a 1971 interview that he originally wrote it for Fourmost.
Thinking of you, and every little thing that you do.
Though later, in a 1980 Playboy magazine interview, he'd sound less convinced by saying, "That sounds like me. I don't remember a hell of a thing about it." Writing so many hits that you forget some of them really is a testament to the creative talents of Lennon. Lennon and McCartney also wrote Hello Little Girl for the Fourmost, but that's much more common knowledge.
I'm telling all my friends, I'm in love.
Number 6, That Means a Lot, P.J. Proby. Many Beatles fans will be familiar with the 1965 film Help, starring the Fab Four, as they deal with all sorts of wackiness, from evil cults to maniacal scientists.
But when she says she loves you, that means a lot.
This song, That Means a Lot, was actually originally written for that movie by John and Paul. In their words, they weren't satisfied with the results, believing that they themselves just couldn't sing it.
Can't you see? You can't hide what you feel when it's real.
Instead, they opted to pass the song along, and it eventually landed in the hands of this American singer. Years later, Lennon would seemingly change his story, saying the song was mostly Paul's, but it's quite clear to any fan that John's fingerprints are all over it.
But when she says she loves you, that means a lot.
Number 5, God Save Oz, Bill Elliot. If you're not familiar with this song, then you'll be forgiven. After all, it didn't really find huge success in the UK or the US. Perhaps that's because not many people knew of Lennon's involvement. When the magazine Oz was facing obscenity charges for their controversial school kids issue, many protested this decision. In defense of the magazine, Lennon, and allegedly Yoko Ono, wrote this song. Lennon didn't want it to be the follow-up to Power to the People, so instead he passed it on to Bill Elliot. A demo recorded by Lennon is now in circulation, and is, unsurprisingly, much more popular than this original release. Number 4. Mucho Mungo, Harry Nilsson. Also known as being a medley with Mount Elgar, this track by Harry Nilsson made waves back in 1974. Mucho Mungo. It was actually written by both Lennon and Phil Spector, the famous musician turned killer. Though as John recounted, when he approached Harry Nilsson with the tune, Nilsson pointed out the parts he didn't like, all of which were written by Phil Spector. Was this? I see. What was left was this very memorable song, which we later got to hear the original Lennon demo version of many years later. Sweet 16, Silla, Silla, Silla. Number 3. Move Over Ms. L, Keith Moon. A more obscure track from Lennon's songwriting career, this one is more commonly known to some fans as being performed by The Who's drummer, Keith Moon. What's interesting about this release is that it wasn't soon after he had given it to Moon that he decided to release his version. In the same year, in fact, as a B-side for his Stand By Me cover. Many music fans and historians agree that Lennon's version is far superior, with some speculating that it may not have been complete when he passed it to Moon. Number 2. I Wanna Be Your Man, The Rolling Stones. The debate between who is better, the Beatles or the Rolling Stones, has caused chaos over the years. I wanna be your lover, baby. I wanna be your man. However, things couldn't have been more civil for the two bands' relationship, as back in the day, John and Paul actually wrote a song that would later be given to the Stones. While many credit Paul as being the primary songwriter, the story goes that it was actually John who finalised the track. I wanna be your man. I wanna be your man. Mick Jagger has expressed how pleased he was with the song, and really why wouldn't he be? Number 1. I'm the Greatest, Ringo Starr. My mama told me I was great. It should come as little surprise that Lennon lent a hand to his former Beatles bandmate Ringo after the group split. As you may have guessed, the title of the track is derived from Muhammad Ali's famous quote. John decided that saying the line "I'm the greatest" himself would come across as big-headed, but believed no one would bat an eye if it was Ringo saying it. I was in the greatest show on earth. As such, he passed the song along to his good friend. Perhaps most interesting of all is that George Harrison also contributed to the song, making it the only time these three members worked together after the breakup. Next up is George Harrison. Number 10. I'll Still Love You, Ringo Starr. It may come as little surprise that Harrison lent his writing talents to his former bandmate on a number of occasions. When every bell's been rung, when every picture's hung up, I'll still love you. After all, as we've seen in our John Lennon list, Ringo often relied on his longtime friends during his solo career. Out of all the Ringo songs written by George, including the likes of You and Me Babe, Photograph and Sunshine Life for Me, we're picking You and Me Babe as it has a distinctly Harrison flavour to it. Yes, I'm gonna hold you, need you, love you, always will love you. Interestingly, the song wasn't even intended to be given to Ringo at all, and was instead pitched for Shirley Bassey. Still, we're grateful Ringo was able to tackle this one, despite some saying he didn't do George's beautiful writing justice. Number 9. Try Some, Buy Some, Ronnie Spector. We're keeping this one fairly early into our list because a lot of you will recognise this song as having a George Harrison version already. But that wasn't originally the case.
Way back in time, someone said try some, I tried some, now buy some.
Harrison wrote this song for the American songstress Ronnie Spector back in 1971. Ronnie's husband at the time, former Beatles producer and eventual murderer Phil Spector, plucked the song from one of George's recording sessions.
And when it seemed that I could only be lonely, I opened my eyes and I saw you.
Unfortunately, it didn't really make waves the way it should have, both with Ronnie not really understanding the profound lyrics of the song and also the resulting commercial failure. The song would, however, be revisited by none other than David Bowie several years later on his Reality album, and unsurprisingly, it's a fantastic interpretation of Harrison's brilliant writing.
Way back in time, someone said try some, I tried some, now buy some.
Number 8. That Kind of Woman, Gary Moore. Information is fairly scarce about this track, but one thing is for certain, this song released by Northern Irish musician Gary Moore was written by George Harrison.
She's that kind of woman, no doubt about how she feels.
The track has a more southern blues and hard rock edge to it that we're not quite as used to hearing in George's writing, but it really does work well.
Crashed my heart on the side of the street that she was stood on. She's that kind of woman.
Though Gary Moore wasn't the only person to release their version of this song, as there's another famous face who did, that we'll touch upon later on, Eric Clapton.
That kind of woman, that kind of woman, that kind of woman.
Number 7. All Things Must Pass, Billy Preston. One thing we've often seen when exploring songs written by the Beatles for other artists is that they were originally recorded during a session by the Beatles themselves and later dropped.
Seems my love is up and left you with no warning.
That was the case here with Billy Preston and the 1969 release All Things Must Pass. This, of course, means that there is a version by the Beatles floating about, but it was only released publicly in 1996.
All things must pass. All things must pass. All things must pass.
A lot of you may recognise this track as being the title song for George Harrison's album of the same name, but as it was Billy Preston, longtime collaborator with the Beatles, who released the track first, there was originally a lot of confusion. Let it be known that this is 100% a Harrison track though.
All things must pass. Whoa, I'm so glad. All things must pass away.
Number 6. Far East Man, Ronnie Wood. As you may have seen in our Lennon and McCartney lists, the feud between Beatles and Rolling Stones fans is trivial, since the Beatles actually had a good relationship with them and wrote for the Rolling Stones in the past. Another instance of this was when George Harrison teamed up with Rolling Stones guitarist Ronnie Wood.
I won't let him drown.
The song was actually co-written by both men, and they subsequently released their own versions of it, though it was Ronnie's that dropped first.
Far East man.
Number 5. So Sad, Alvin Lee and Mylon Lefevre. The choice to hand this song to another creator strikes some as a bit odd, since the lyrics are actually so personal to George Harrison.
Now the winter has come to eclipse out the sun.
They were written to directly address the breakdown of his marriage with Pattie Boyd. Alvin Lee, who was frontman for the band 10 years after, was handed the song by Harrison when he heard he was working on a solo album.
So sad.
Many people still associate this track with Alvin Lee, despite Harrison including his version in the less well-received album Dark Horse.
So bad, so sad.
Number 4, Sour Milk Sea, Jackie Lomax.
You don't get the breaks like some of us do.
Jackie Lomax was certainly fortunate when it came to this track, as it's one of the rare instances where someone had help from the Beatles combination of George Harrison, Paul McCartney and Ringo Starr. Though the writing in this track is thanks to George, who drew inspiration from his stay in Rishikesh, India. It obviously leans more towards the Beatles' psychedelic rock period. When the song was recorded, Jackie had the dream team of Eric Clapton and George on guitars, Ringo on drums, and Paul on bass. It's no wonder this one's a banger.
Get back to where you should be. Find out what's going on there.
Number 3, Sue Me, Sue You Blues, Jesse Ed Davis. Here's another one which was surprisingly handed away, despite being such a personal song for Harrison.
You serve me, and I'll serve you. Swing your partners, I'll get screwed.
Sue Me, Sue You Blues was written in 1971 and was written to address the legal disputes the Beatles had faced over the years, such as the ones with Apple Corp.
We're gonna play the Sue Me, Sue You blues, yeah.
Despite this, Harrison instead opted to pass it to Native American musician Jesse Ed Davis, who was entirely removed from these issues. Jesse's version was released in 1972, and George's would appear the following year.
We're gonna play the Sue Me, Sue You blues, alright.
Number 2, Badge, Cream. Okay, this one may be a little obvious to some of you, but we simply can't talk about songs written for other people by George Harrison without bringing out this absolute classic.
Thinking about the times you drove in my car.
You may be wondering why the song is called Badge. Well, funnily enough, it's only because Eric Clapton had misread Harrison's handwriting when he was writing the song, which actually said Bridge.
Yes, I told you that the light goes up and down. Don't you notice how the wheel goes round?
Though the song is unmistakably a Harrison piece, he was only ever credited on the UK single version of the track. Hilariously, George also wasn't allowed to openly say that he performed rhythm guitar for the song, as he was signed to another label, and instead had to use the pseudonym L'Angelo Misterioso.
Talking about a girl that looks quite like you.
Number 1, Rum So Far, Eric Clapton. But Badge wasn't the only time Harrison collaborated with Eric Clapton.
You fly. How does your smile wear thin?
In fact, he was even present for his solo career with this song back in 1989. Eric and George were famously good friends, despite both being in love with the same person at some point, and their friendship was immortalised in this killer track.
No escape can only run so far.
It was added to Clapton's Journeyman record, but it wasn't the one offered to him, as George also suggested Cheer Down and That Kind of Woman.
I pray that you might make it through.
George's version of this song was only released in 2002, just after he tragically passed away.
There's no escape can only run so far.
Lastly, we're looking at the songs by Ringo Starr. Just kidding, here's Paul McCartney. Number 20, Mine for Me, Rod Stewart. We open with a different member of British music royalty, Rod Stewart.
In a couple of hours I'll be driving home to the one I love.
This lesser-known gem was written by Paul McCartney for Stewart's album Smiler. Mine for Me showcases McCartney's knack for catchy melodies and heartfelt lyrics.
There'll never be another one like mine for me.
Adding another layer to this collaboration was Linda McCartney's backing vocals on the track. Her voice complemented Rod's raspiness perfectly and added a touch of magic only McCartney could provide. This song was brought to fruition after Rod heard Paul name drop him at a press conference.
And can't you see that it's mine for me?
He called him up immediately and asked if he really would be interested in writing for him. Number 19, 4th of July, John Christie. No, not that John Christie.
Sunset's painting up the sky. There's something in my eye.
This song captures the essence of a quintessential American celebration. It's a hidden gem that resonates with McCartney's signature touch, blending rich harmonies with an evocative narrative that takes you through the sparks and bursts of Independence Day.
It's the 4th of July.
Though it captures the essence of summer and time spent with friends, it also has a very melancholy lining around it. Unfortunately, this one has not officially been accredited to Paul McCartney, but it's widely believed to be by him, especially since there are newspaper excerpts from the time that say he did.
Why am I crying? It's the 4th of July.
Number 18, Penina, Carlos Mendes. McCartney has helped musical talents all over the world, including this Portuguese singer, Carlos Mendes. Penina is a beautiful ballad that showcases Mendes' powerful vocals. You may think that the song tells the story of a lost love, but the truth is actually a bit more joyful.
Take me home, help me friends, free my soul.
While staying in Portugal, McCartney stayed in a hotel called Penina. There he ended up having a joyful night of drinking and good times, even getting on the stage to help a band perform. The song appears to illustrate that wonderful night he had.
Penina, Penina.
Number 17, Let's Love, Peggy Lee.
Tonight is the flight of the butterfly.
When jazz singer Peggy Lee invited Paul and his wife to dinner at the Dorchester, Paul brought along a very unique gift for his host. It was a song that would eventually become the title track for her 1974 album, Let's Love.
Let's be in love and discover.
And wow, Peggy Lee's smooth vocals really bring out the emotion in every word, making it timelessly beautiful.
Let's love.
It wasn't until 40 years later, in 2014, that Paul's original demo of the song was released in the deluxe edition reprint of the Venus and Mars album. Number 16, Cat Call, the Chris Barber Band. Now for something a little different, an instrumental song written by McCartney without actual lyrics. Cat Call is a lively and upbeat track that will have you tapping your feet in no time. With its energetic brass section, it's impossible not to get caught up in the rhythm. But when the vocals kick in, it switches to an almost eerie mood, like the voices of the dead are calling out. It's very hard to put your finger on the mood McCartney is evoking with this track, but you'll find it very difficult to switch off regardless. Number 15, Giddy, Roger Daltrey. British musician Roger Daltrey is well known, but perhaps his track Giddy might not have popped up on your radar.
My baby left me for another guy.
This one showcases Daltrey's dynamic vocal range and Paul McCartney's unmatched songwriting.
When the sun comes up, woo, gonna catch Giddy up.
It was originally meant to be named Rode All Night, back when Paul planned on releasing it himself, but ultimately it got this new title and attitude. The song would be released on the album One of the Boys in 1977, which featured a number of other talented writers. Number 14, If I Take You Home Tonight, Diana Krall. Being released in 2012 makes this one of the newer songs on this list.
If I take you home tonight.
It's a haunting melody that intertwines love's longing with pure elegance. Crowell's rendition brings an alluring depth to this lyrical contemplation of romance and desire. The track was originally penned during McCartney's sessions for his Kisses on the Bottom album, but he ended up scrapping it.
Let me treat you right. Let me take you home tonight.
Thankfully, it found its perfect match in Crowell's velvety voice. Crowell's album may have received mixed reviews for being mostly covers, but critics fell in love with this original track.
If I take you home, if I take you home tonight.
Number 13. Love in the Open Air, the Tudor Minstrels. Like many great musical artists, Paul has dipped his toes into the world of cinema. That includes his time as a musical composer for the film The Family Way in 1966. McCartney had agreed to concoct the film's main theme song and was tasked to create something to fit the romantic vibes. Unfortunately for the film's main composer, George Martin, Paul was taking a bit too much time putting it together, so he had to turn up on his doorstep and essentially force him to crack on with it. The film would go on to win awards for its musical score, and we'd say McCartney is largely responsible for that. Number 12. On the Wings of a Nightingale, the Everly Brothers.
When I love, I get a feeling like I'm traveling through the sky.
Some of you were surprised we didn't mention this one in our previous clip, so we simply couldn't snub it a second time. With its gentle guitar strums and tender lyrics, On the Wings of a Nightingale takes us on a flight through love's enchanting skies. The Everly Brothers' iconic harmony blends seamlessly with McCartney's melodic genius, creating an uplifting tune that resonates with romantics at heart. You simply couldn't go wrong with this brilliant combination of talents.
On the wings of a nightingale.
Number 11. It's For You, Cilla Black.
It's true. It's for you.
If you've checked out our list of songs written by John Lennon, then this track may sound familiar to you. But many claim it's Paul McCartney who did the heavy lifting in this song by the late, great Cilla Black. Released in 1964, It's For You is a catchy pop ballad that tells the story of longing for love and connection.
Love shows, I give my heart and no one knows.
With its infectious melody, this song became a hit in both the UK and in the US. The story goes that Paul walked into the recording studio and overheard Silla performing. He was instantly taken aback and simply had to help write one of her future projects.
So I just tell them the right, who wants the fight, tell them I quite agree.
Number 10. Veronica, Elvis Costello. This song belongs to Elvis Costello, but it was actually co-written by Paul McCartney.
These days I'm afraid she's not even sure if the name is Veronica.
The lyrics explore the story of a woman called Veronica, who lives in a nursing home and suffers from memory loss. Costello and McCartney took inspiration for the lyrics after Costello's grandmother was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. The writing combo raised eyebrows at the time. McCartney was facing bad press due to his being an ex-Beatle, while Costello was young, upbeat, and ready to rock and roll. However, the two worked their magic together and made a timeless song with incredibly heartfelt lyrics. Number 9. 6 O'Clock, Ringo Starr. 6 O'Clock marked the first collaboration between Ringo Starr and Paul McCartney since the breakup of the Beatles a few years earlier.
You keep me wondering why.
Released on Starr's 1973 solo album Ringo, the song was actually co-written by McCartney and his wife Linda. The lyrics focus on the perspective of a man not treating his lover as he should. The collaboration sparked rumours of a Beatles reunion, especially since Starr also collaborated with George Harrison and John Lennon. Unfortunately, no such thing happened. But 6 O'Clock remains an important song, as it marked the start of the McCartney-Starr co-writing collaboration. Number 8. I Wanna Be Your Man, The Rolling Stones. If you're a rock fan, you know the Beatles versus the Rolling Stones debate is a touchy subject that has no actual resolution because both bands are so great. In 1963, Lennon and McCartney wrote I Wanna Be Your Man and offered it to the Rolling Stones. They thought the song would be a better fit for them. The Rolling Stones made some changes to the song, including adding a unique R&B beat and of course the iconic guitar part. I wanna be your man. Released as their second single in November 1963, I Wanna Be Your Man was an immediate success, peaking at number 12 on the British charts. Number 7. Songbird in a Cage, Charlotte Gainsbourg. Paul McCartney wrote Songbird in a Cage around 2011 and gave it to Charlotte Gainsbourg, who released it on her 2017 album, Rest. She met McCartney for lunch approximately 6 years prior, during which she told him that a song from him would be a dream come true. Sounds like a casual lunch conversation indeed. But sure enough, a few weeks later, McCartney sent her a demo of Songbird in a Cage. Gainsbourg later worked on, in her words, making the song more chaotic. She even got help from McCartney, who dropped by the studio to add guitar, drums, and piano. Number 6. I'll Keep You Satisfied, Billy J. Kramer and the Dakotas. McCartney provided assistance to John Lennon in co-writing the song I Call Your Name. The two originally gave the song to Billy J. Kramer and the Dakotas back in 1963.
You don't need anybody to hold you. I'll keep you satisfied.
However, sometimes the original recording just doesn't work out, and the writer doesn't feel it did the lyrics justice. In this case, Lennon allegedly wasn't satisfied with what he had heard. He ended up recording the song with his own band instead.
You don't need anybody to hold you. Here I stand with my arms open wide. Oh, give me love and remember what I told you. I'll keep you satisfied.
The Beatles released the song in 1964 on 2 separate albums, in the US on the Beatles' second album and in the UK on Long Tall Sally. Number 5. Woman, Peter and Gordon. Sometimes McCartney used pseudonyms when writing a song, and this was one of those cases. Woman was written by Bernard Webb, aka Paul McCartney himself.
Woman, if you need me, then believe me, I need you.
The song, recorded in 1966, was a test whether or not it would be successful without the Lennon-McCartney writing partnership. Woman was recorded by Peter and Gordon, who actually recorded 3 McCartney-written songs previously. This song reached number 14 on the US charts and number 28 in the UK. At first, McCartney didn't want to reveal he was the writer, but the secret was out 2 weeks after the release. Fun fact, in the demo version of the song, McCartney also played the drums.
Woman, if you take me, then believe me, I'll take you.
Number 4. A World Without Love, Peter and Gordon.
Please lock me away.
McCartney's writing talent goes back to his teen years. He wrote A World Without Love when he was just 16 years old. The song was given to the Peter and Gordon duo soon after they signed their label contract. A World Without Love was an immediate success, topping the charts in several countries around the world. McCartney did demo the song himself, but he felt it wasn't the right fit for the Beatles.
I don't care what they say, I won't stay in a world without love.
A World Without Love is the only Lennon-McCartney non-Beatles song to reach the top of the American charts. Number 3. Goodbye, Mary Hopkin. Goodbye is a McCartney song written for Welsh singer Mary Hopkin. Hopkin was one of the very first artists welcomed to the Beatles record label.
And it becomes tomorrow, I will leave to go away.
It was released in 1969, and actually it did pretty well on the charts. So well, in fact, the only song blocking it from going to number 1 was the Beatles single, Get Back. Now that's quite an accomplishment, and it doesn't end there. Recording the song in other languages was actually the reason why Hopkin met her husband, Tony Visconti. Sounds like Paul McCartney should add Cupid to his resume of many talents. Number 2, Like Dreamers Do, The Beatles. Written in 1959, Like Dreamers Do was one of McCartney's first songs. However, it's a song he didn't personally like.
You are that girl in my dreams.
He said the arrangement for it was weak. In 1962, the Beatles auditioned with it for Decca Records, but didn't make the cut. Yet despite its failure, it was an important step for McCartney. He revealed that playing your own songs at the time was considered a bit of a joke.
Waiting for the bliss, like dreamers do.
But he went on to say that Like Dreamers Do was still an important song to play in order to break the icky feeling of self-writing songs and then playing them. What an inspiration. Number 1, Come and Get It, Badfinger.
You want it anytime, I can give it, but you better hurry.
You're probably thinking of the Selena Gomez song, but no, McCartney didn't write that one. Come and Get It was a song written in 1969 and played during the movie The Magic Christian. It was performed by the Welsh rock band called Badfinger and reached number 7 on the Billboard Hot 100. It was also able to reach the top 5 in Canada, UK and Ireland, proving McCartney's penmanship never fails.
You want it, here it is, come and get it.
Interestingly enough, McCartney demoed the song with a slightly upbeat tempo compared to Badfinger's version. He even ended up playing it himself at a concert in 2011, surprising fans in Bologna. What a catchy tune. Who is your favourite Beatles member? Let us know in those comments below.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from WatchMojoUK and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.